As speculation grows about a Trump return to power, one figure has emerged as a defining symbol of resistance: New York Attorney General Letitia James. Known for her forthright approach and extensive legal battles with the former president, James recently reiterated her unwavering commitment to defending civil liberties and standing against any threats to fundamental rights in a Trump-led administration. Standing shoulder to shoulder with New York's governor, James is not just preparing for potential legal battles, she's readying an entire playbook, fortified with policy initiatives, funding, and unwavering resolve. For many Americans, she represents a last line of defense against policies that could undermine hard-won rights. Setting the stage, the Empire State Freedom Initiative. New York's new Empire State Freedom Initiative reflects James's and other leaders' proactive approach to governance in the face of potential challenges. This initiative, along with complementary plans in states like California, is designed to serve as a legal barricade to safeguard individual rights. Under this initiative, policies addressing issues from environmental protection and reproductive rights to anti-discrimination measures and voter protections will be shielded from attempts to roll back progress. James's office has drawn up extensive legal strategies based on historical precedents and newly developed policy frameworks. She's spoken openly about using every legal tool available to counter measures that she and many constitutional experts deem harmful. The Empire State Freedom Initiative isn't just about legal response. It's about creating a sustainable framework for countering policies that might threaten individual freedoms. A detailed look at James's legal arsenal, the major battles and legal tools. James's assertive stance on a host of controversial issues has granted her a unique vantage point in the legal system. Let's look at some of her most significant confrontations and the legal precedents she set, which could become invaluable assets if Trump returns to office. DACA and Dreamers' rights. James played a pivotal role in defending the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, DACA, policy when the Trump administration sought to terminate it. By leading a coalition of states, she argued that ending DACA would violate constitutional protections and devastate hundreds of thousands of young immigrants. The Supreme Court ultimately ruled in favor of maintaining DACA, a major victory for immigrant rights and an example of James's ability to navigate high-stakes legal battles. Standing against family separation, Trump's zero-tolerance immigration policy, which led to the separation of thousands of children from their families, was one of the most controversial aspects of his administration. Letitia James joined other attorneys general in challenging this policy, arguing that it was inhumane and a violation of constitutional rights. Her involvement added legal pressure, ultimately contributing to the administration's decision to halt this practice. Protecting environmental standards. Throughout Trump's presidency, the environment became a key battleground as federal agencies attempted to dismantle key protections like the Clean Water and Clean Air Acts. James fought back through lawsuits aimed at preserving these environmental safeguards. She argued that deregulation efforts were arbitrary, capricious, and harmful to public health, and her team leveraged legal principles to win key rulings that upheld these environmental protections. Challenging the census citizenship question, James successfully challenged the Trump administration's attempt to add a citizenship question to the U.S. Census. This addition, many argued, would lead to an undercount in immigrant communities and skew representation in Congress. Her lawsuit reached the Supreme Court, which ruled against the administration's proposal. This victory underscored James's commitment to fair representation and her readiness to take on politically sensitive cases that have far-reaching consequences. Protecting LGBTQ+ rights and other civil liberties. Trump's policies also targeted LGBTQ+ protections, such as the rollback of anti-discrimination provisions in healthcare and the military's transgender ban. Letitia James led the charge to contest these measures, arguing that they violated the Equal Protection Clause of the U.S. Constitution. She won several legal victories that reinforced protections for LGBTQ+ individuals, solidifying her reputation as a staunch defender of civil liberties. An overview of James's legal strategy for a potential Trump administration. If Trump returns to the White House, James and her team plan to build on the lessons and precedents from her previous confrontations with the administration. Among the critical legal tools she's preparing to use are the Administrative Procedures Act, APA. This act will be central in challenging any executive orders or federal rules that James believes bypass standard procedural requirements. By arguing that many policies violate the APA, she can potentially halt their implementation on technical grounds. Amicus briefs and coalition building. James has a history of collaborating with other states and organizations to file amicus briefs in high-profile cases. She plans to strengthen these coalitions further, creating a united front against policies that threaten collective values. Utilizing state laws as barriers. By enforcing New York's stringent state laws, James can create significant legal barriers that make it more challenging for federal policies to be implemented in her jurisdiction. For instance, New York's strong environmental laws can be leveraged to challenge deregulation efforts at the federal level. Bringing cases to the Supreme Court, James is no stranger to the highest court in the land. By preparing cases likely to reach the Supreme Court, she's poised to establish critical precedents that could protect rights across the country, not just in New York. The political and public impact of James's work. James's relentless opposition to Trump has made her a lightning rod for controversy, but also a hero to many Americans. Her commitment has stirred a national conversation about the role of states in counterbalancing federal authority. As she continues her legal battles, public opinion has become increasingly supportive of her efforts, with polling showing that a significant portion of Americans approve of state-led resistance to certain federal policies. Potential backlash and challenges. Is James prepared? Despite her successes, James faces considerable challenges. Trump supporters and Republican legislators have already launched campaigns to discredit her, painting her as politically motivated. Her opponents argue that she's overstepping her authority and using her position to score political points. However, James remains undeterred, often remarking that these criticisms only strengthen her resolve. With legal funding secured and bipartisan support in many quarters, James appears well prepared for the legal and political storms that may lie ahead. Letitia James as a symbol of resistance. Why she matters. In the larger scheme, Letitia James has become emblematic of a broader resistance movement, a coalition of leaders and citizens determined to uphold democratic values in the face of adversity. Her outspoken defense of civil liberties, environmental justice, and equal rights has struck a chord with Americans who feel increasingly disillusioned with federal politics. For her supporters, she is a beacon of hope in uncertain times, standing firm on principles that resonate deeply with millions. Her willingness to stand up to power, even under threat of retaliation, speaks to a fierce independence and an unshakable commitment to justice. James's role as Attorney General has transcended New York's borders, positioning her as a national figure with the power to influence policy and public opinion far beyond her state's boundaries. As the nation watches and waits, Letitia James has made it clear that she will not yield to intimidation or political pressure. Her unwavering commitment to safeguarding fundamental rights has already etched her name into the annals of American politics, and she's far from finished. If Trump returns to office, she will stand ready as a counterforce, prepared to challenge policies she sees as infringing on the freedoms and rights that define America. James's legacy is already taking shape, not just as a tough attorney general, but as a defender of democratic values and the rule of law. Her determination, resilience, and willingness to act in the face of powerful opposition embody the spirit of justice, inspiring hope and courage in those who believe in the sanctity of American principles. For Americans looking to the future, Letitia James represents not just legal resistance, but the steadfastness of a democracy that refuses to back down. Her message to Trump, and indeed to all those who would challenge fundamental freedoms, is clear. As long as she holds her office, the principles she defends will not be easily overturned.